Hello and welcome to Anime Between the Lines, the show where I think way too much about things in anime. So, you want to know what my favorite mythological creature is? Nope. Try again. Good guess, but no. Really? No. My favorite mythological creature is the Homunculus. And one of the stories I think handles the Homunculus best is, of course, Fullmetal Alchemist. Most of the questions brought up by Homunculi are addressed in the show. What it means to be human, whether artificial life can still be considered life, and what it is that makes us who we are as individuals. But these aren't questions we'll have to answer in real life, are they? Well, put on your thinking caps and start pondering, because we may have to start answering these questions sooner than you think. But before we start talking about homunculi, let's define the term. In Latin, the term homunculus roughly translates to tiny man, and it was used in reference of two things.
Who are you calling a rock so tiny that it can only be seen with a magnifying glass, you jerk?
Not you, Edward. Calm down. It could be used to describe a tiny, full-grown human in the middle of a sperm, once thought to grow in the womb and become a baby human. I think it's safe to say that that's not what we're talking about here. The second idea behind the homunculus was a miniature human that an alchemist would create to test diseases on. Now this definition hits a bit closer to the mark of what we think of as a homunculus, not just in Fullmetal Alchemist, but in fiction and popular consciousness in general. However, it seems the idea of it being a tiny humanoid guinea pig has all but vanished from our minds, partially because we found out actual guinea pigs work just fine and with fewer ethical hang-ups, and largely because of the 1818 classic Frankenstein. It was made clear that not only was Victor Frankenstein's creation artificial, he was made using alchemical means. Now, while the word homunculus was never used in the original text, there is no doubt that that's the creature he was most associated with, and it changed the way popular culture defined homunculus. Later depictions of the homunculus would usually be more human-sized, and would often exhibit beyond human abilities. Heck, the novel even said he was a new species entirely. As you may have noticed, the homunculi from Fullmetal Alchemist have quite a few things in common with our buddy Frankenstein. Unfortunately, this leaves us with a rather nebulous definition of homunculus. All we really have now is that they are artificially created and usually at least somewhat humanoid. So, to find out if we can make a real-life homunculus, let's start with the real-life inspiration for one of the show's pivotal characters. Everybody's favorite deadbeat daddy, Hohenheim. For those of you who don't know, the Hohenheim from Fullmetal Alchemist was based off the real-life alchemist Philippius Aurelius Theophrastus Bombastus von Hohenheim, or as he was more commonly known, Paracelsus. Paracelsus was a 15th century alchemist who coined the term homunculus, as well as founding the field of toxicology, which later became the basis for modern medicine, contributing to the move of education from Latin to local languages, helping open the door for poorer people to get into college, and moving intellectual discourse from obsession with adhering to the findings of our elders, and instead focusing on evidence and, well, a whole bunch of other world-shattering things, far more important than coming up with a cute name for a fictional monster. Seriously, look this guy up on your own time. He's fascinating. He also wrote instructions on how to create a homunculus. The instructions go as such. That the sperm of a man be putrefied by itself in a sealed cucurbit for 40 days with the highest degree of putrefaction in a horse's womb, or at least so long that it comes to life and moves itself and stirs, which is easily observed. After this time, it will look somewhat like a man, but transparent and without a body. If after this it be fed wisely with the acrumen of human blood, and be nourished for up to 40 weeks, and be kept in even heat of the horse's womb, a living human child grows therefrom, with all its members like another child, which is born of a woman, but smaller. Yeah, something tells me that's not going to work. The only parallel to anything real-world would be Dr. Yoshinori Kuwabara's artificial womb, which could stand in for the horse womb. However, it's only effective for mostly formed fetuses, and would be entirely ineffective for babies in zygote or embryo stage of development. So where does this leave our search? Well, honestly, I'd start with the dog. Hey, wipe those confused looks off your faces. Many people may not think of dogs as artificial, since they're born pretty much the same way every other animal on Earth is. But keep in mind, dogs are impossible in nature. Humans took wolves, a natural resource, and bred them with wolves they normally would have never mated with in order to get traits we needed, traits that would have never helped them in the wild. A process named artificial selection, keyword being artificial or man-made. You could think of each dog breed as a finely tuned machine made to accomplish a job specifically for humans. Shoot, several anthropologists consider them to be one of humanity's first inventions, meaning they are a product of human science. The modifications to the modern dog are so extensive that the animal is classifiable as a different species entirely, Canis familiaris. Basically, you'll never find an animal like a beagle in the wild. Okay, so maybe that's not convincing enough to you. Besides, it doesn't have much to do with the idea of a lab-created human, subhuman, or superhuman of any sort. Well, while there hasn't been a human created in a lab, that we know of, there has been a life form made entirely from scratch. In the year 2010, after 20 years of research and experimentation, a team led by synthetic biologist Craig Venter created JCVI Syn 3.0, otherwise called the minimal cell, due to it having fewer genes than any other life form in existence. While there had been cells before it that had been modified from real-world cells, the genome of JCVI Syn 3.0 was made entirely from scratch and functions just like any other living being. By chemically synthesizing DNA segments of the artificial genome they had written, they were able to plant it into a bacterium emptied of its genome. After some trial and error, they eventually made a cell that could reproduce and continue living on its own, if given the proper growth medium, and JCVI Syn 3.0 was born. So, is making humans from scratch the next goal? No, according to the team, they're mainly using this to research genome patterns and what function they serve. As far as practical application is concerned, such as industry, agriculture, and medicine, most of that can be done more easily through natural species that have simply been modified. However, no one knows what the future holds, and personally speaking, I believe we may see the first real-life homunculus in our lifetimes. So, what do we do when that day comes? How will we live alongside our lab-grown brothers and sisters? For that, let's look back at a quote from our good old buddy Hohenheim. While most alchemists of his era were eager to use the homunculus as a test subject, he had this to say: "The homunculus ought to be educated with the greatest care and zeal, until it grows up and begins to display intelligence. Afterwards, it should live as a free man." Couldn't have said it better myself. You'll always be surprised what stories you can find when you read in between the lines. So, until next time, good night and, hey, stay awesome.